You sit down to watch something. A movie everyone's talking about, a series your friends can't stop recommending. You press play. The opening credits roll. The music swells. The story begins. And somewhere inside you something strange happens. You're watching, yes, but you're also watching yourself watch. There's a distance now, a gap that wasn't there before. And in that gap you see things. Things other people don't seem to notice. The machinery behind the curtain. The strings being pulled. The emotional manipulation happening in real time. You see the formula, the pattern, the way this entertainment is designed to make you feel a certain way, think a certain way, identify with certain characters and their struggles. And you can't unsee it. You can't go back to the innocent immersion you once had. If you've felt this, if you've experienced this peculiar separation, this transparent quality that entertainment has taken on, you're not alone. And you're not broken. Something has shifted in your consciousness, and it's changed the way you perceive not just entertainment, but the entire theater of existence. Welcome to Alan Watts Insights, where we explore the territories of awakened consciousness. And today, we're diving into something most people won't talk about, the lonely experience of seeing through the illusion of entertainment when everyone around you is still happily lost in it. Let me paint you a picture. You're at a friend's house. Everyone's gathered around the television, watching the latest blockbuster, the one that's breaking all the records. The room is electric with attention. People are gasping at the plot twists, laughing at the jokes, their eyes glued to the screen. And you're sitting there, present in body, but somehow absent in the way they are, because while they're experiencing the story, you're experiencing something else entirely. You're watching the editing techniques. You're noticing how the music cues your emotions before the scene even unfolds. You're seeing the archetypal patterns, the hero's journey structure, the predictable character arcs. You're aware of the product placements, the subtle ideological messaging, the way the film is constructing a particular version of reality and inviting you to accept it as truth. You're not trying to analyze it. It's not an intellectual exercise. It's simply what's happening. The transparent nature of it all is just obvious to you now, like suddenly being able to see the matrix code behind what everyone else experiences as solid reality. And here's what makes it particularly strange. You remember when you could get lost in stories. You remember the magic of it, the complete immersion, when a good film or show could transport you so totally that you forgot yourself. You forgot you were sitting on a couch. You forgot about time. You became the story. That was entertainment's great gift, wasn't it? That temporary escape, that journey into another world. But something's changed. The door to that innocent immersion has closed. Not because you want it to be closed. Not because you're trying to be some cynical critic who can't enjoy anything anymore, but because you've developed what spiritual traditions call witness consciousness. You've awakened to the observer within you, the part that watches without getting absorbed. And once that observer awakens, it doesn't go back to sleep. It's like learning to see depth in a stereogram. Once you see the three-dimensional image hidden in the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you perceive the layers of reality, you can't collapse back into seeing only one. Now, let's be clear about what we're talking about here. This isn't about being more intelligent than other people. It's not about being too sophisticated for popular culture or having better taste. This is about a fundamental shift in the structure of your awareness. Alan Watts spoke about this with his characteristic clarity. He said, "A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusion." What happens in spiritual awakening is that you stop being identical with your thoughts. You stop being completely absorbed in the content of consciousness. A space opens up, a watching space. And in that space you begin to see that entertainment, like everything else in the constructed world, is a game, a play. A magnificent illusion designed to capture and direct your attention and awareness. The ancient Hindu philosophy called this Maya, the cosmic illusion, the divine play. It's not that the world is fake, but that it's more like a dream than the solid, separate, objective reality we imagine it to be. And entertainment is Maya within Maya. It's illusion crafted to entertain the illusion of the separate self. When you're fully identified with your ego, with your personal story and struggles, entertainment serves a function. It gives that ego something to do, somewhere to go, emotions to feel, experiences to have vicariously. It reinforces the sense of being a someone having a life, facing challenges, seeking happy endings. But when awakening begins, when you start to disidentify from that ego story, entertainment starts to look different. You begin to see it for what it is, a beautifully crafted distraction, designed with extraordinary skill to keep consciousness occupied, to keep it from asking deeper questions, to keep it from turning inward and discovering its true nature. Here's what you see now that others don't. You see the emotional manipulation in high definition. That swelling orchestral score isn't just background music. It's telling you when to feel moved, when to feel tense, when to feel relieved. Those quick cuts and camera angles aren't just cinematography. They're hijacking your nervous system, creating artificial urgency and excitement. That character you're supposed to identify with isn't just a protagonist. They're a carefully constructed ego proxy, designed to make you project your own struggles and desires onto the screen. You see how entertainment programs consciousness. And I use that word deliberately, programs, like software code. It installs beliefs about how life works, what's normal, what's desirable, what success looks like, how relationships should function, what problems matter and what solutions are available. It does this so skillfully that most people never question it. They absorb these programs and mistake them for their own authentic thoughts and values. You see the formula. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The three-act structure, the inciting incident, the dark night of the soul, the triumphant resolution. It's the same story told 10,000 different ways. The hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell mapped it, playing out in every adventure film. The romantic comedy's predictable arc, meet cute to misunderstanding to grand gesture to happily ever after. The crime drama's familiar rhythm. Crime committed, investigation, false lead, real culprit, justice served. These aren't bad stories, they're archetypal, which is precisely why they work. They tap into the deep structures of the human psyche. But when you see the formula, when you can predict the beats before they happen, the magic dissolves. You're no longer experiencing a story. You're watching a machine do what it was designed to do. And you're aware that you're watching it. You see the empty calories. So much of entertainment is designed to fill time, to occupy attention, to give the mind something to chew on that requires no real digestion. It's the mental equivalent of junk food, colorful, stimulating, momentarily satisfying, but leaving you somehow emptier than before. Hours pass. Whole evenings vanish. And what remains? What was nourished? What grew? What deepened? The awakening mind begins to value its attention differently. Attention isn't just something to spend anymore. It's recognized as the most precious resource you have. Your attention is your life, moment by moment. Where you place it is where you exist. And entertainment, for all its craft and spectacle, is asking you to place your attention into a constructed dream and to stay there, absorbed, identified, lost. But here's where it gets even more interesting and even more lonely. You see the cultural trance. You see how entertainment functions as a kind of collective hypnosis. People talk about the shows they're watching the way people used to talk about shared religious experiences. Have you watched it yet? Becomes the question that determines whether you're inside or outside the cultural conversation. There's a pressure to stay current, to have opinions about the popular series, to participate in the collective dream. And when you can't, when you've lost the ability to get absorbed in these stories, you find yourself outside that shared experience. You're the person at the party who hasn't seen the show everyone's discussing. You're the friend who can't get into the series everyone insists is brilliant, and you can't quite explain why. How do you tell someone that you can see through the whole thing? That the problem isn't the quality of the entertainment. but the fact that you've developed a kind of double vision that makes immersion impossible. Alan Watts had a profound way of framing this. He talked about the difference between being in the river and watching the river from the shore. When you're in the river, you're part of the flow. You're wet. You're moving. You're experiencing the river from inside. But when you're on the shore, you see the river as an object, something separate from you, something you observe. Awakening is like stepping onto the shore. You're still aware of the river. You can still appreciate its beauty, its power, its patterns. But you're no longer identical with it. You're no longer lost in it. And entertainment, for most people, is a river they gladly jump into. They want to be swept away. They want to lose themselves. That's the point. That's the pleasure. But you're standing on the shore now, watching, and you can't make yourself jump back in. And there's a paradox here that Watts would appreciate. The paradox is this: the universe itself is entertainment. It's the cosmic play, what the Hindus called Leela. It's God playing hide and seek with himself, pretending to be separate beings having separate experiences, all for the sheer play of it. There's no purpose, no destination, no final achievement. It's just the joy of the game itself. In that sense, movies and television and stories are just entertainment within an entertainment. They're smaller dreams within the larger dream. And when you start to wake up from the larger dream, the smaller dreams lose their grip. You see them for what they are, dreams within the dream. But here's the tricky part. Some people hear this and think it means nothing matters. If it's all just a game, all just entertainment, why care about anything? Why not just do whatever you want? And that's not quite right either. The awakening doesn't make you indifferent. If anything, it makes you more sensitive, more aware, more present. But it does change what captures your attention. The dramas that used to seem so important, the conflicts and victories of fictional characters, start to feel beside the point. Not because they're meaningless, but because you've tasted something more real. Let me tell you what you're probably experiencing now and why it feels so isolating. You turn on a show maybe to join your partner who's excited about it, or maybe just because you're tired and want something easy. The show is well made. The acting is good. The production values are high. And within minutes you feel that familiar distance opening up. You're watching it, but you're also watching yourself watching it. You're aware of your own reactions. You notice when the show is trying to make you feel something, and you notice your resistance to being manipulated. You see the pacing, the structure, the way each episode ends on a cliffhanger designed to make you watch the next one. You see the addiction mechanics built into the streaming platform. The autoplay feature that assumes you want to keep going. The algorithm that knows exactly what will keep you scrolling. And underneath all of this, you feel something else. A kind of sadness, a loneliness, because everyone else seems able to enjoy this. Everyone else seems able to lose themselves in these stories. And you remember when you could too. You remember when this was relaxing, when this was fun, when this felt like connection, because you were all experiencing the same story together. But now you're experiencing something different. You're experiencing the gap, the space between the story and your awareness. And in that gap, you're more alone. You can't share what you're seeing because it sounds pretentious when you try. It sounds like you're claiming to be above it all, more enlightened than everyone else. And that's not what this is. This isn't superiority. This is a shift in perception that you didn't ask for and can't reverse. It's like if everyone around you suddenly started speaking a language you could still understand but could no longer speak yourself. You get what they're saying. You see why they're excited. But you can't participate in the same way anymore. Here's the deeper truth that Alan Watts would want us to understand. What you're experiencing isn't a problem. It's not something wrong with you. It's not a deficiency or a curse. It's the natural consequence of awakening consciousness beginning to recognize itself. The witness is emerging. The observer is becoming distinct from what it observes. And yes, this creates a kind of exile. You're exiled from the innocent participation that others still enjoy. But you're also being invited into something deeper. You're being invited to discover what remains when entertainment loses its power. What's here when you're not distracted? What's present when the mind isn't absorbed in external stimulation? What are you really when you're not identified with the stories, external or internal, that usually consume your attention? This is where it gets profound. The same mechanism that makes entertainment transparent is the mechanism that makes your own mind transparent. Just as you can now watch a movie and see it as a movie, you can watch your thoughts and see them as thoughts. You can observe your emotions without being identical with them. You can notice your ego doing its thing, pursuing its agendas, constructing its stories, without believing you are that ego. This is the witness consciousness that meditation traditions have pointed to for thousands of years. It's the awareness that's aware of awareness, the space in which all experience appears. And entertainment's loss of grip is just one symptom of this larger shift. It's your consciousness becoming less sticky, less prone to absorption, more capable of resting in itself without needing external stimulation to feel alive. But let's not romanticize this too much, because the practical reality is often uncomfortable. You're sitting with people you love, and they're enjoying something, and you're not. You want to connect with them, you want to share the experience, but you can't force yourself to get absorbed. You can't manufacture the immersion, and so there's this painful choice. Do you pretend? Do you go through the motions, laugh when you're supposed to laugh, gasp when you're supposed to gasp, all while feeling like you're watching yourself perform the role of engaged viewer? Or do you admit that something has changed, that you just can't connect with entertainment the way you used to, and risk seeming aloof, disconnected, no fun anymore? There's no easy answer to this, but there is a way to hold it that's more compassionate, both to yourself and to others. The way involves understanding that different people are at different places in their journey of awakening. For some, entertainment still serves a purpose. It's still meaningful. It's still a way to connect, to relax, to explore emotions and ideas in a safe, vicarious way. And there's nothing wrong with that. The mistake would be to judge them, to think they're asleep and you're awake, they're unconscious and you're conscious. That's the ego creeping back in, trying to make itself special through spiritual superiority. The truth is more nuanced. Consciousness is waking up through you, yes, but it's also expressing itself through them in their enjoyment, in their immersion. The whole thing is the play. Every role is part of it. What you're being called to is not judgment, but compassion. Compassion for yourself, for this strange exile you didn't choose. And compassion for others, for the fact that they can't see what you see, not yet anyway, and that trying to explain it will only create distance. Alan Watts often spoke about the futility of trying to teach awakening through words and concepts. You can't convince someone to wake up. You can only be awake yourself and let that presence do whatever it does. Sometimes people sense it. Sometimes they're drawn to it. Sometimes they start asking questions. And sometimes they just think you're weird and want nothing to do with whatever's happening to you. All of that is fine. All of that is part of the cosmic play. So what do you do with your evenings now? What replaces entertainment when entertainment has become transparent? This is a real question, a practical one, because the gap still needs to be filled, doesn't it? Or does it? Maybe the question itself reveals the addiction. Maybe the assumption that free time needs to be filled with something is part of what you're waking up from. Maybe the discomfort you feel when you're not entertained is exactly what needs to be felt. Maybe that's where the real transformation happens, in the willingness to sit with the emptiness that entertainment was covering up. This is where most people turn around. This is where they go back to scrolling, back to streaming, back to anything that will fill the void. Because the void is scary. It feels like death. It feels like meaninglessness. And in a way it is. It's the death of the ego's constant need for stimulation. It's the meaninglessness of all the stories we tell ourselves to avoid the present moment. But if you can stay with it, if you can sit in that emptiness without reaching for distraction, something extraordinary begins to reveal itself. The emptiness isn't empty. It's full, pregnant with presence, alive with awareness itself. The entertainment you were seeking outside was a pale shadow of the aliveness that's always here, always available, when you're not looking away from it. Alan Watts described this state beautifully. He said the point of meditation is not to achieve some special state, not to have visions or experiences, but simply to see what's here when you're not trying to be somewhere else. Entertainment is the ultimate somewhere else. It's the promise that this moment, this life, this ordinary awareness isn't enough, that you need something more, something bigger, something more exciting, and when you believe that promise, you're forever seeking, forever consuming, forever unsatisfied. But when you stop, when you just stop and look, you discover that just this ordinary awareness, watching breath, feeling body, hearing sounds, is already complete, already whole, already enough. This doesn't mean you never watch anything again. It doesn't mean entertainment is evil or that you have to become some ascetic who rejects all worldly pleasures. Some awakened people still enjoy films and stories, but they enjoy them differently. They watch with awareness, not absorption. They appreciate the craft without getting lost in the illusion. They can laugh, feel moved, engage with the story, but they're never fully tricked. They're never completely hypnotized. It's like watching a magic show. When you know how the tricks work, you can still appreciate the skill, the artistry, the performance. But you're not fooled. You're in on the joke. And maybe that's the final gift of this shift in perception. You're in on the cosmic joke. You see that it's all entertainment, all the way up and all the way down. Your life is entertainment. This awakening is entertainment. Even the search for truth is entertainment, another game the universe is playing with itself. But when you see this, when you really get it, the burden lifts. You stop taking it all so seriously. You stop trying to figure it all out. You stop demanding that life give you the answers, because you see that the question and the answer are both part of the same game, and the game is being played just for the joy of playing. So where does this leave you? Practically speaking, you're living in a world that runs on entertainment. That's what social connection often looks like now. Shared viewing experiences, cultural references, conversations about the latest episode, and you're outside that, or partly outside. You can still participate, but it's different for you now. You're there, but you're also somewhere else, watching from the shore while others swim in the river. And that's okay. That's where you are. Not better, not worse, just different. The path of awakening is often lonely, not because you're isolated, but because you're experiencing life from a perspective that most people haven't accessed yet. You're seeing things that are invisible to the consensus reality, and that creates a natural distance. But here's what you need to remember. This distance isn't the end of connection. It's actually the beginning of a deeper kind of connection. When you're not trying to lose yourself in entertainment, when you're present with what actually is, you become available for real contact, real presence, real seeing and being seen. The superficial connection of sharing entertainment opinions gives way to the profound connection of sharing actual presence. And the people who are ready for that, who are hungry for that, will find you, or you'll find them. Because consciousness recognizes itself. In the meantime, be gentle with yourself. Honor the grief of losing something you used to enjoy. Honor the loneliness of seeing what others don't see. Honor the confusion of not knowing what to do with your evenings anymore. And honor the courage it takes to stay awake when falling back asleep would be so much easier. You didn't choose this. It chose you. Consciousness decided to wake up in this particular form, in this particular life, and now you're living with the consequences. There's no going back. The door has closed behind you, but ahead there's something you can't yet fully see. A freedom, a lightness, a way of being that doesn't depend on distraction or stimulation or entertainment. A way of being that's simply here, present, aware, alive. And that's not nothing, that's everything. Trust the process. Trust that what's falling away needed to fall away. Trust that what's emerging is more real, more true, more you than anything you're losing. Trust that the universe knows what it's doing, even when it looks like loss, even when it feels like exile, even when you can't explain it to anyone. You're exactly where you need to be. The cosmic play is unfolding perfectly, and you're both the actor and the audience, the dreamer and the dream. Entertainment was never the point. Awakening is. And you're in it now, whether you like it or not. So you might as well relax into it. Enjoy the show, the real show, the one that's happening right now, behind your eyes, in your awareness, in the simple miracle of being conscious at all. This is the journey. This is what spiritually awake people see in entertainment that others cannot. They see through it, they see around it. They see what it's really for, what it's really doing, and in seeing that they're set free. Free to choose, free to participate or not, free to watch with awareness instead of absorption, free to live awake instead of endlessly seeking escape. And that freedom, strange and lonely as it sometimes feels, is the greatest gift. It's what you've been seeking all along, even when you thought you were just seeking a good show to watch. You were seeking yourself, and now you're finding yourself, in the silence, in the stillness, in the space where entertainment used to be. Welcome home. Thank you for joining us here at Alan Watts Insights. If this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in these words, share this with someone who might understand. Subscribe to continue exploring the deeper dimensions of awakened consciousness. And remember, you're not alone in seeing what you see. There are others on this shore, watching the river, understanding the cosmic joke. Find them, connect with them, and keep waking up. The universe is counting on you.